Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Jerry Godero with Contex Scanners, and we're here for our large format scanning Q&A webinar with our scanning expert. And today, of course, we have Dan Bennett as well as Rich Geigel from National Azon. Dan Bennett is from Global Scanning, Contex as well. Welcome, everyone. So let's see. How you doing today, Dan?
I'm good, Jerry. How about you?
Great, thanks.
Good.
And so, of course, what we see up on the screen is a screenshot of our recently updated website, and that is showing our new HD Apeiron 42 large format contactless scanner. And I get a feeling we might get a couple of questions on that, aside from just our regular technical questions. So the first question that was actually emailed in is talking about how they have an SD1 Plus 36-inch scanner, or an AO size scanner, and are interested to know if we offer a AO size flatbed. And so that's I think that's kind of exactly what we're seeing up on the screen here. Isn't that right, Dan?
Yeah. We don't have an A0 traditional flatbed, like with the glass plate, similar to, say, for example, our IQ Flex scanner. But this certainly fits the bill, and it gives you just a huge amount of additional advantages than a traditional flatbed scanner does.
Sure. So, and our traditional flatbed scanner is our IQ Flex, and that's an 18 by 24 inch C size scanner that can do oversize up to 24 by 36 with the scan wizard that directs for a couple of passes of the scanning, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And let's see. We don't have any text questions yet. Let me see if we go to a couple of questions that were already submitted. Now, this is talking about our HD Ultra X 60-inch wide scanners. And so this is a question asking about calibration, and then a message pops up that the calibration sheet needs to be realigned. Does this mean I should start the calibration over, or simply remove the calibration sheet, recenter it, and then click retry?
Actually, that's a great question, because it's actually something that we've seen come across the support help desk a couple of times. So there was a change in the calibration program that if the calibration sheet became skewed during the calibration process, more than a small degree of deviation, then we would report a message that the calibration sheet was skewed, and it would give you an opportunity to remove the calibration sheet, reposition it, and just click retry and continue on. You didn't have to start the calibration from the very beginning. And so as long as the sheet wasn't skewed too much and it caused any other issues with the calibration, it was just purely a skewing issue, then you can just pull the sheet out, reposition it, hit retry, and it'll just continue where it left off. It won't.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
it really a slight adjustment, right?
Yep. Yeah, when the calibration sheet moves back and forth a whole bunch of times, there's always a chance for it to slightly become out of skew, or become skewed, and that's just a fairly normal thing that can happen whenever you're moving it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like that. So it is a nice little addition.
Gotcha. And then, so now we also have a question about the Nextimage scan, or Nextimage scan software licensing. I imagine that they're talking about Nextimage 5, either Scan Plus Archive or Nextimage 5 Repro. And they're saying in the license agreement, does the license agreement limit the software to being loaded on a single PC, or can I legally install it on multiple computers?
Yeah, it's actually designed to be allowed to install Nextimage on multiple PCs. For example, in a networking environment where you might have 5 operators all wanting to use the same scanner from their own workstations, say they're in a work group pool or something like that, and they're in fairly close proximity to the scanner, they can certainly install it on each one using the same license and control the scanner independently from each other. We basically are very liberal with the networking portion of the software with Nextimage, and we allow we don't have an enterprise license per se, but we do allow you to do that for each individual. We just require at least a single seat of Nextimage with each scanner.
Right. So
yeah, so if you were to buy multiple scanners, we would want to see one seat of Nextimage for each scanner.
But then multiple seats can have the software installed to access that, of course, across the network, sharing the device. But really, you're only kind of only one PC is kind of running the scanner at a time. So that kind of falls right in line with that, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, okay. That was probably a better way to describe it, because the scanner will only allow one person to.
Well, we have a technical guy and a sales guy in here for a reason.
There it is.
And then, so we have a question from Manuel saying, art scanning requires a business model and marketing skills a bit different from that in traditional document scanning service bureaus. Do you provide any assistance or support in that regard? And so I think that that's almost more of a question along the lines of for our distributors support network and working with our resellers and things. And that's also some great information that we can address to National Azon, our US distributor. As a matter of fact, as I was mentioning, our updated website, you can also take a look at Azon's updated website with the new HD Apeiron 42 scanner on there. And so I think that what our distributor channel offers is definitely support for art scanning service bureaus, as well as traditional service bureaus. Rich, if that's something that you wanted to weigh in on, you're welcome to unmute. Otherwise, we can kind of direct some information over your way, of course, after the presentation.
Right. Can you hear me, Jerry?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So all I would say about that right now is we're still getting our arms around all of that. We have our demo equipment on order and we're very anxious to receive it. And then once we do that, we'll start to make some videos and start to help with marketing ideas and vertical applications and things like that. So it's still a work in progress.
Oh, sure. I guess specifically as it pertains to this new scanner, but I think that I know that you guys already have some different art reprographic shops out in your network. And so I'm sure that that's something that you guys can follow up with Manuel on later.
By all means. And I know Manuel. Hi, Manuel. Thanks for the question.
Sure. And then Andrew is asking, with the new HD Apeiron scanner, I would suspect a lot of our IQ Flex customers may be interested in this solution. Will you be offering a trade-in offer? I'm not sure of any specific trade-in programs at this moment on this scanner, but we usually have some kind of offering that if a customer has existing equipment and that might work out for a trade-in for equipment, or if that might also be on a technology lease for renewable or a dollar buyout, something like that. And then with the promotions, I think a lot of times customers will end up, now not saying that this is on any promotion or anything like that, but what we've seen in the past is customers usually opt for a better promotion over a trade-in offer. So I think that would probably come into play there as well. Okay.
Yeah, and Jerry, if I could jump in there, Jerry.
Sure.
Just to say, there is we are working on the promo sheet, and there is a special pricing going to be offered on the new scanner, the Apeiron, up until October 1st. So there's a difference of about $6,500 in MSRP. That, of course, could be used as a trade-in offer.
Right. Fantastic.
I mean, you could just about give the customer 100% of their flex money back, right, for the order of an Apeiron.
Great. So see, there's already thought process going on with this regards. And then, so a question from Jay. I understand that there are two lights in the scanner. My question is, can they be controlled independently, i.e. front light only or back light only?
Yeah, I'll answer that one, Jerry. Basically, to give proper illumination, we do have two sets of lamps. And if you notice in the image right there, off to the right, you'll see a handle. There's actually a handle on the front of the scanner as well as the back of the scanner that allows you to even control each lamp's location independently from each other. So in traditional normal scanners or scanning, you might have both levers in the up position to bring more relief or more three-dimensional details. For example, on a piece of acrylic art that has layers of paint, you can really bring that out by lowering the lamps at a lower angle, so you get more of a contrast with the angles of the lamps. Or you can run one lamp down, one lamp up on the front side, or vice versa. So you can actually position the lamps in 4 different locations. And so it's a very powerful tool to be able to bring out the 3D qualities of a flat image. And it does an exceptionally good job of it.
Fantastic. I think it looks like one great product. I mean, that's for certain. And the effects, and I think if you take a look at some of the videos that we have, and there's some listed right here on the Azon page for the 3D effects on the HD Apeiron. And of course, that is available also at our Contex YouTube page. We have the recording for these Q&A videos up there, but also all the new videos for the new scanner up there as well.
Yeah, and we actually control within generating the files themselves, taking multiple images from the front lamps, the back lamps, a combination of both lamps, and basically melding them into one. So for example, if you were scanning a document with Braille, the Braille will really jump off the sheet because you're casting a slight shadow on the front side of the Braille nib, on the back side of it, as well as doing a general overall lighting of the entire document. So there's a lot going on with the lamp system in the scanner.
So for all the peaks that you would find in some of the most detailed acrylics and oil paintings, things like that, even something as small as just Braille bumps will be, I mean, that's a great example for,
Right. And when you scan in what we call 3D mode, it actually captures the image and then allows the operator to grab a slider and control how much vertical relief or 3D effect that they're actually seeing in the image. So if you want it very flat, you can neutralize all of that. Or if you want a lot of relief, then you can move it up or down and control just how much you're actually seeing in the image.
Gotcha. Okay.
Completely on the fly. Yep.
And then now we have a question from Nick. How does the Contex HD Apeiron scanner compare to, looks like maybe a competitive scanner versus scan flatbed scanner? Now this is a brand new product. I'm not sure if we have much comparative information. Do you have any details on that, Dan?
I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the SMA scanners are all flatbed. So you're actually taking the original, laying it on a glass plate and scanning that way. I think the results you're going to get on this, number one, biggest advantage against a straight flatbed, of course, is it's touchless. If it is a very high-end piece of artwork, you can be rest assured that nothing is going to touch the surface of the original. It's all touchless. But there's a whole lot of other things that we're doing with color fidelity and the color mapping that is quite phenomenal with this scanner. I've been very impressed with what I've seen so far with it.
And then, so Eric had a question. Does the ambient light in the room have any effect on the scan? I noticed in the videos, it shows the scanner next to Windows.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen really any of that issue. We've done a lot of testing in a room like this one here with all the windows open. Basically, we're producing very directed light exactly where the scan line is, and because we're flooding the light level so heavily, ambient doesn't seem to be affecting much from my experience. Now that's something that I don't have any data, exactly what the light levels and looms would be, for example, with a completely dark room versus a lit room like this. But
and then so a little bit of follow-up question on the IQ Flex. And so Jay's following up saying, thanks for asking, but what he means is, can I scan one light on, one light off like the IQ Flex scanner? And I think that the short answer to that is yes, right? Because you have such control over the different lights.
Yeah, that is a feature. I don't know if it's included in the final versions or not. It's something that we had played with heavily. But we also found that it was a lot less necessary to use on this particular scanner because of the way the light sources are being angled versus an IQ Flex, where you're using CIS technology with a very, very small ability to control angles of light, that type of thing. This scanner, the light sources are quite spread apart, and because of that, it's much less necessary to illuminate one side or the other. From my experience.
Gotcha.
So I think we were talking about doing that. There was a lot of discussion about it. It may come in the future, but there's the negatives of doing something like that is then we would have to introduce another new calibration because now you're only illuminating from one side. And every time you do that or you make a change to the light source, to guarantee that scan quality, that image quality, you're going to need to recalibrate based on that new light source that you introduced. So with this, we basically have 4 combinations. We can calibrate each combination completely independent from each other. And then the scanner is intelligent enough that it will know if you have one lever up, one lever down, it will load the calibration specifically for that particular combination.
For that combination, gotcha.
Yeah, and what we didn't want to get into is like, okay, now we have the ability to alight one side with the handles up or down, and now we have to introduce like 3 more calibrations into the scenario when it really wasn't producing any great benefit in the scan quality. But it's certainly something that has been looked at, may be introduced into the future for specialized customers, that type of thing. It's very easy to do. So
gotcha, because it's all kind of in there, right? Let's see. And then so Robin was saying that, hi, it looks good. How do you handle reflective metallics? Now, I think one of our ISO 9000 ratings on this particular unit is specifically about metallic reproduction scanning. Is that right?
Yeah, so far from what I've seen, it's doing a very good. The advantage of this scanner is it is a CCD based scanner, and it gives you a lot of capability that you don't get, for example, in a CIS based unit. The light source is completely calibrated. We are actually illuminating with various different colors of LED. And that really does help with scanning all different types of pastels or fluorescent colors, reflective type surfaces, that type of thing. So it's I think the scanner is going to be one of those situations, like for example, Azon will have one at their location, that people are going to want to send samples to see just exactly what they can get off of it. And I think the proof's in the pudding when you're actually scanning original that you're interested in what can come out of it. So
Sure. And then Arturo was asking, have we benchmarked it against, it looks like an I2S or microbox scanner? And again, I don't
I'm not
think
familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't speak into that well enough to be able to tell you.
I think just in terms of seeing any of the competitive information that we have launched for this product, because it's so new, I'm not seeing much. So, microbox specific, I don't know, but as soon as we have some competitive information, I'm sure that's something that we'll go ahead and release.
Yeah, for everybody out there, this thing was just introduced, and
so that's one of our questions.
Even for Gary and I, it's going to take our time for us to get our arms around just exactly what the capability is.
Right.
But I'm a pretty picky guy, and so far, all the work I've done with this particular scanner.
Right. So, as a matter of fact, we had this Q&A webinar already scheduled prior to this announcement release. So we were fortunate to be able to include some information on this here, and we'll be happy to try and answer anything that we can. But if we're a little short on the knowledge, please just understand we're gaining it every day.
Yeah. And I see the follow-up question to the light source.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can control in an SDK? Absolutely. And again, if we see that there's enough individuals out there that really want that particular feature or something, just let us know, and we'll have R&D look into that and implement as a
right.
feature. Right.
And then so there was a question asking, can it scan X-rays as well? It's not backlit, so I mean, I think X-ray scanners tend to be a specific kind of a creature, right?
Yeah, this is a reflective surface scanner. It's not a backlit. The table, it's a little hard to see in this picture here, but the table is kind of a dark gray green color. And so you take a dark X-ray and lay it on a dark table.
Oops, sorry.
Typically, in the past, we've been able to scan some X-rays even through roll-fed scanners because there's enough white background that allows enough contrast to be able to kind of see through the film without seeing through it.
Well, and then, but I think for capture, for archiving, yes, but for analyzation, no.
No, yeah, and that requires FDA approval and a whole bunch of other things that go with that. So we're not in any way stating that this is like a film scanner because it is not backlit, and it's a very different technology. But whether or not you put a white sheet of paper down on a scanner and ran an X-ray over the top of it, it would be something that would be interesting to see.
And I bet it would capture a nice image. It's just, not what it's intended.
Not what it's designed for.
Right.
Yeah, that's not the intent of it.
And then, so we have a question asking about the launch, and Rich was kind enough to go ahead and already answer that, and saying that the Apeiron is launched and we have inventory on order. And if you're not receiving pricing and promotions, please send your email address to Rich Geigel at richg@azon.com. That's azon.com. And let's see. And so, of course, and you can also contact Azon through their website right here. And Theodore is saying he's a user of some of the Contex products, IQ Quattro X, for instance. And I have three types of questions. Speed, how fast can an A2 picture run a complete circuit through the scanner? I'm assuming he's asking about the Quattro, right? Quattro X. And so how fast can an A2 picture run a complete circuit through the scanner? So the IQ Quattro X is at about scanning speeds up to just about 18 inches a second. So, I mean, an A2, I think we have some speed ratings for some large formats. I think they're usually set for productivity ratings, is usually listed in AO sizes. And then it, says how many, 100 per hour kind of thing it can go through. I'm not sure if that information will be helpful for you. And then processing app, with what conversion application will it come with? Nextimage? Can it be used with other capture apps? I'm not sure if they're asking about the Quattro X. Let me see if there's a follow-up here. Theodore, if you could just clarify which scanner.
Yeah, basically with Contex, the preferred scanning application is Nextimage. We do support Twain, so if you do have a third-party application, you can use Twain to import the file into that as well.
Thank you.
And of course, we do support a full SDK. So if you do have your own applications that you're writing yourself, you can use the SDK to take full control of the scanner as well. But Nextimage is our preferred application for scanning.
Right. So I think that, and most users will attest, if you are even trying to process the image in a third-party application later, if you do the scanning with Nextimage, I think you'll get the most out of the scanner that you can get. And then you can, of course, work on that scan in anything else. But just to run the scanner with a Twain application, just to do it, it can be done, but it's maybe not going to give you the best options, especially in image cleanup and in resolution control, all sorts of things.
Yeah, Nextimage really brings the power of the scanner out. It's a very powerful tool.
Especially if speed is an issue. If you're trying to think about productivity and the batch scanning ability and the auto naming features and things like that, as well as the multi-page support for TIFF and PDF, I think that's where Nextimage is really going to be the best application to run. And I'm not sure if they're, again, talking about the iQ Quattro X or the new HD Apeiron, but there will be, the Nextimage is the application for the new scanner as well. It's just a more customized product. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Yep. And then price estimate, if we're talking about the HD Apeiron, MSRP on this is about $44K. Hopefully that doesn't price it out of most people's budget. And how does it handle framed artwork? I think it handles framed artwork as long as it's no thicker than 5 inches. The max thickness, I think, is 5.1 inches thick and can do 42 inches by 60 inches around.
Right. So the actual throat of the scanner is just over 10 inches. We have a maximum scan height of, I think it is 5.1 inches. With a focal length of about 10 millimeters. So you can see, like in this particular case, this is a framed piece of printed canvas, and we just laid the whole frame right on the scanner. The scanner has a feature built into it where we can set the focal plane at any height that we want. So if you had, for example, a frame that rose up off of the surface of the painting by maybe 3 inches, our main focus is going to be the surface of the painting itself. And so we can raise and lower the scan module to set the focus exactly at the surface of the painting and not on the frame. So the frame might become a little diffused, but the surface of the painting is what we're really concerned about, being very crisp and sharp and in focus. So it's kind of the way it works. And you can do that throughout any variety of media that you want to set a specific focal point. So.
And then David is asking about the required floor space.
That's a great question. It's a large scanner. It should be in the spec sheet, Jerry.
Yeah, I
if
think we
you
had the spec sheet up here. Okay, here we go. Dimensions down here. It's like 135 by 61 by 62, 52.
Yeah, so with the 60-inch table, you have to have, of course, 60 on the front side and 60 on the back side because the table's running through. So that's where the size of it becomes pretty large. But
It's it definitely needs a good size room to be able to work around the scanner. I think,
yeah, I think the operator course is typically going to run from the front left side of the scanner, and that's the input size or input side. And so there isn't a huge amount of movement, but you do need to leave a buffer around the scanner so that you can move behind it, and all the computer gear and whatnot is located inside the cabinet below the scanner there, and so you'll have cabling that's going to run in from the floor up through the bottom of the scanner into the cabinet where the computer, and you may want to put a gigabit switch in there and so on and so forth, and just hide all that so it keeps everything nice and clean.
And it looks like Rich was kind enough to go ahead and answer some of the text questions that were already out there. So one of them was a follow-up on Arturo's question about the microbox, and Rich was just confirming that the microbox is a book scanner, correct? And I think that that's right. And then there was another question about how this scanner, the HD Apeiron, differs from one of the WideTech art scanners. And it looks like Rich has also answered that, saying that they already have National Liaison already has a comparison sheet against for the WideTech, and to just go ahead and contact him for some details on that. Again, richg@azon.com. And so let's see. There's a question: does this unit have, or can it be upgraded in the future to have a suction bed, an extension table? For longer pieces, things like that?
So that's something that's looked at for the future. That might come in a future version of the scanner. At this point, we don't have a vacuum bed table with it, but it's definitely something that we're entertaining for the future.
Yeah, I think we've definitely had some conversations about just that's what people tend to start asking about, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. And then Peter's asking, how long does it take to assemble or set up the scanner? Is that something you had some experience with yet?
I don't know that we've defined exactly what we feel set up. It does require, it's quite a heavy unit, so it will require 2 people for portions of the setup. I'm going to estimate it's probably about a 4-hour from crate to calibration for it as a minimum. My experience with it was you're handed a scanner with with no instructions whatsoever, because we're looking at it from a serviceability type picture from the support team, and figure it out and set it up, and that helps us to understand exactly what it is that we're going to provide the general public as far as how to set up the unit. And right now it's the instruction sheet for setup is completely wordless, so it's all pictures. So try to imagine IKEA in a technical world. We're trying to do it so that we don't have to customize it for languages, because we do sell throughout the world. And I think it's pretty clear. It's not overly complicated setup, but it's a good size scanner. So it does require I would say most of the time required in the setup is attaching some of the fit and finish, the external case parts to
Panels and such.
make it look nice. Yeah, paneling, that type of thing.
Well, and I think, and also anytime you're working with something that can handle 42 by 60 rigid, it's got to come up to the front of it and go out the back of it. And, and so you've got more than just the scanner footprint. You're dealing with some delicate originals and that require some space as well.
Yeah, we've done a lot of really neat things to make setup easier. For example, that whole center section that you're looking at right now, that's just one unit, and it comes in a large box. The table comes in 2 halves, and it slides next to the main body of the scanner during shipping, as well as the ends that the table is mounted to, and the rails. So all of that assembles fairly easily. But that is the main assembly. It's mainly assembling the table and the rail system to that center portion, which we call the scan module. There isn't a lot of other details other than, installing some software on your PC and calibrating. As far as like table alignment and all that, again, very, very creative ways of doing that. With assistance from software to make all that work, including, lasers and all kinds of other neat things that we have in the scanner to simplify the setup. We use it for other scanning purposes, but we found that we can use those same pieces of technology to help you assemble the scanner and get it all together and make sure everything's perfectly in alignment before you get going. So. A lot of thought went into this.
Yeah, it looks great. And then we had a follow-up answer from Kelsey saying that you answered her question on the artwork in the deep frame setup, and thank you for that. And then there was another question. There was a question from James about, can you accomplish UV or infrared, and can you do this with digital images?
So I guess the question on that would be using UV light sources or infrared sources, or scanning something that was captured in infrared. I'm not sure I completely understand.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I may be taking things out of order. That might be a kind of in there from another question that they were asking about with light sources and things like that. I get the feeling. So let's see. I'll jump ahead just a little bit, and we can always come back to that one. So are there options? Andrew's asking, are there options for scanning bigger items than the bed can stitch, like stitching, like with the IQ Flex? So is there an oversized option, or any thought for oversize with this scanner?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of at this time. Certainly you could easily take, for example, that might be, excuse me, that might
as
be
a post-process, you mean?
Yeah, if you already had a 60-inch document lengthwise and wanted to do 120, I don't know that you could pull that trick off and have that much extra original hanging off the end of the table. So I would venture to say that's probably not something that would be easy to do.
Gotcha.
But I would imagine if it was a little, for example, let's say it was maybe 2 feet longer and it was fairly lightweight. You could scan it, flip it 180 and scan it again, and then just bring that into, say, Photoshop and have it mend the two together that way. But as far as because of the size of the scanner, we haven't implemented some of the same tools that we did, for example, with the oversize scanning with the IQ Flex with the flatbed. So, but that's not a very difficult thing to implement. So again, if that's something that the market is really requiring, then
we
we'll
might be
take a
able to
look at
step up
that as
too.
well. But
Gotcha. And then what about David is asking, what about regular maintenance needs that needs to be performed by the user, cleaning, etc., kind of like with our regular scanners, what's the what needs to be done before each scan on this one?
the beauty of this thing is it's touchless, so there really isn't any regular preventative maintenance, operator maintenance, that type of thing with it at all. There is general calibration that we do, a color calibration at initial setup. Because it's using an LED light source, that is something that you shouldn't have to recalibrate very often, because LED is a very stable light source. And so, yeah, there shouldn't be a lot of day-to-day type cleaning activities with this scanner.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like if there's something on the lens, something wrong has happened. But
Yeah, it would be very difficult for something to get up on one of the lenses. The cameras are up very
right.
high in the chassis there, and quite well protected. So
All right, it looks like that answered David's question. And then so we'll go ahead. We've got one last question here, unless there's any more. But so Alan was asking color matching. Are there color profiles to match Pantone colors, or is it what you see is what you get?
So yeah, we support full X-Rite ICC profiling, and we also support several different color spaces. So Adobe being one of them, sRGB, as well as what we would call device, which is our color profiling that we generate ourselves, again through X-Rite. And so yeah, those would be the basics. We also have a feature in there, and I know that and sorry for some of the users out there that were hoping to maybe get a question answer for 60s or whatnot. We had a feeling that the 42 here was going to take over the whole webinar, but these are great questions. We have a feature within this particular scanner that we call high quality mode. And what it will do is take full 48-bit color capture from 3 different angles with multiple samples to filter out any potential noise that you may get off of the sensors and provide that to you as a single file, as well as be calibrated to an X-Rite profile. If you're talking about wanting to output to print, in the initial shipped version of Nextimage, I don't know if all of the direct printer profiles will be ready for this one. I don't think that's being offered right out of the chute, but we will eventually include application printer drivers for all the various different types of printers. So if you're looking to ultimately do scan to print, then we would utilize a closed loop calibration algorithm that basically takes that particular printer with that particular paper and ink that is installed in that printer. And we would output a color target, bring it back to the scanner, rescan it, and do a closed loop calibration to get you the closest color matching possible. So it really depends on color management, depends on what it is you're doing. If you're scanning to file, then we use an ICC profiling mechanism. If we're scanning to print, we use a closed loop calibration algorithm. So
Excellent. Sounds
hopefully
like
that answered the questions.
I think it does, and it also leaves lets everyone know that there are more big things to come for this.
Exactly.
And then so Arturo was asking a question I put up on the screen there on the back of the data sheet has the dimensions for both the setup as well as the shipping dimensions and the weight and things like that. So I think that probably covers it for there. But anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I think we've just about worn down Dan's voice for today.
You can hear it.
but I thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to seeing everyone here for our next webinar, whether it's a introduction for the new HD Apeiron 42 scanner webinar, or one of our Q&A webinars. We'll be having some announcements coming out soon, but please don't hesitate to give us a call or send us an email with any questions. And thank you all very much for coming, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.